You know, he's talking about how he saw the first Iron Man when he was 4. To him, Marvel movies and DC movies are movies.
Right.
And there's been actually almost no competition to show him that there can be anything else. So going to the movies means going to see those movies.
Looks like Dune isn't stepping down from its December 18th release date.
I'm pointing the way!
Releasing on the same day as Avengers Doomsday. It appears we may have another Barbenheimer on our hands, or in this case, what some have labelled Doomsday.
Doomsday.
See, I wanted to take a closer look at the situation. See, I think this isn't just a Barbenheimer situation. To me, this speaks to a deeper level about what type of stories we like to consume.
What is cinema?
What interests me about Doomsday isn't the box office race or the memes, it's the question hiding underneath it. What do we actually want from movies right now? Because Dune Part 3 and Avengers Doomsday aren't just two big films opening on the same day. Well, they are. But they represent two fundamentally different ideas of what cinema is for. On one side, you have Dune, a continuation of a singular vision, shaped by history, philosophy, and the language of cinema itself. On the other hand, you have Avengers Doomsday, a franchise climax designed less as a film and more of an event. A payoff to an interconnected system that, lately, hasn't really been sure what it's building toward. This isn't about art versus fun in a snobbish sense, it's about intention, about whether movies are meant to challenge us or simply occupy us.
One of the aspirations of the studios was to become as important, in a sense, to American culture as Disneyland.
That's a different experience, and it's like where the theaters become amusement parks.
And then you add the blockbuster on top of that, and why not?
I was saying earlier, it's not cinema, it's something else.
Scorsese once described Marvel films as theme parks, and that quote has been debated to death, usually by people arguing against a point he wasn't quite making.
The sense of theme park has always been there. It's always been, it's not bad. We used to love to go to amusement parks, you know, but now in an amusement park you have the film.
The Marvel type pictures.
Scorsese wasn't saying theme parks are inherently bad. He was just saying they're designed around sensation, not reflection. They give you thrills, spectacle, and familiar beats, but they don't linger.
I was saying earlier, it's not cinema, it's something else.
You don't leave a roller coaster a changed person. Marvel movies, especially in their prime, were incredibly effective theme parks. They were coherent, character-driven, and emotionally resonant. Look, I'm not trying to pretend there wasn't genuine love put into these films, genuine art created here, but lately, that clarity has fractured. What once felt like chapters in a carefully planned saga now feels like episodes in a never-ending feed.
I can't.
Like, what was the point of building the 90s Avengers team, of introducing She-Hulk, Black Knight, Cersei, Hercules, White Vision, if you're just gonna backpedal to nostalgia and bring back all the OGs? Like, seriously, all of Phase 4 and 5 is just the 90s Avengers team. But nothing's built to. The characters aren't connecting.
Oh, shit.
The multiverse saga isn't built like the Infinity Saga. Instead, each movie feels like a knee-jerk reaction to the next movie. This is probably best seen in Brave New World. It just felt like the scraps of the Incredible Hulks and the Eternals mixed together. Look, if you're gonna commit to establishing a new phase with a new team of Avengers, with new characters, make them interesting, make them rich, with depth, the same you did with the heroes in Phase 1. These characters in Phase 4 and 5 aren't bad, they're just underdeveloped. They're not given the same love and attention the Phase 1 and Phase 2 characters were given.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Cersei and Black Knight are the Romeo and Juliet of the 90s Avengers. You got an amazing love triangle between Wonder Man, Scarlet Witch, and Vision. Namor and Hercules have a very Hulk and Thor type relationship. Look, the team that they were going to make the Avengers going forward could have been really cool, but no, Marvel decided to play it safe. Which brings us to Doomsday. Doomsday is being positioned as a major payoff, a culmination. The problem is that it's a culmination of what exactly? The post-Endgame era of Marvel has been defined by uneven quality and unclear direction.
Come on, Titania 2, this isn't messy enough?
Characters introduced without momentum, storylines are teased without payoff, and emotional stakes are assumed rather than earned. Massive growth, massive changes in characters are seen off screen. Like Hulk went and got busy and had a kid.
This is my son, Scar.
What the hell was that? The inclusion of the X-Men, specifically this X-Men, highlights this issue. There hasn't been a narrative foundation laid that makes the arrival feel inevitable or meaningful. It's less this story had to happen and more this will get butts in seats.
There's nothing that'll bring me back to life faster than a big bag of Marvel cash.
Like, this version of the X-Men had their happy ending. Heck, Chris Evans too. And that's the key distinction. Doomsday isn't a story built from necessity like Infinity War and Endgame. Instead, it's okay, if not thrilled, to rip a character out of their happy ending to do this thing one last time.
Fox killed him. Disney brought him back. They're gonna make him do this till he's 90.
This is me doubling down now, but how many times do we need to see Professor X die?
Silence!
Okay, Dune by contrast feels like a breath of fresh air.
Is that right?
When I got out of part 2, I felt like I saw a film so epic, so rich in gravity, it felt like I was watching a cultural moment.
Listen, Gabe!
An Empire Strikes Back for my generation.
Lead them to paradise.
So yeah, I'm not gonna hide my excitement for part 3, and I'm very obviously biased that the artistry here is walking circles around whatever Marvel are currently putting out. Denis Villeneuve has been very open about his inspirations, Frank Herbert's series being his Bible. He was also deeply influenced by Lawrence of Arabia, and Villeneuve's films wear that lineage proudly.
Lawrence of Arabia is to cinema what the pyramids are to architecture. It's timeless.
The story of Lawrence of Arabia inspired directly Frank Herbert when he wrote Dune. To be honest, that it is a movie that tremendously influenced me as I was doing this adaptation.
You can tell it in the scale, the silence, the way the desert isn't just a setting but a psychological force.
As a filmmaker, you cannot be the same when you get out of the theater. There's something about the use of the power, the landscape, and I will say that it's a movie that when I watch it, it's one of the rare movies that I'm still moved to tears by the cinematography. Voilà.
This isn't world building for law's sake, it's myth making.
The story of a man who falls in love with a culture and that will at the end betray that culture.
Villeneuve has spoken about the importance of good cinema, the cinema he was raised on, the beauty of the 60s cinema, how those Technicolor films, those rich tones inform his color choices in Dune.
Part 2 is add like some references for color palette art.
How the sci-fi of the era informed the grandeur of the tale, a way to explore ethereal ideas. We can see that with the obvious parallels between the Star Child and Aaliyah, the spacecrafts, the compositions. But why pull from these influences? Well, this was a time in cinema when they trusted the audience. We saw films that weren't edited around attention spans.
And so I find that very liberating.
That forced you to just live with the action of the character.
That most of us really want to offer the world something of quality.
That trusted the image to speak for itself.
I try to find influences that are outside of the cinema circle.
So yeah, Dune is coded in the influences of its director, but what makes Dune that much greater than just a rebellion revenge plot is what the movie has to say with its themes. Dune is a story about fear.
Where the fear is gone, there will be nothing.
Not just personal fear, but collective fear.
Only I will remain.
Enough.
Fear is the mind killer isn't just a motivational slogan, it's a thesis. The film interrogates power, prophecy, and the terrifying human desire to believe in saviors.
I don't care what you believe, I believe.
The problem with leadership is that leaders are human beings.
We gave them something to hope for.
Hero worship is not celebrated in Dune, it's dismantled.
That's not hope!
The Messiah narrative is exposed as dangerous, seductive, and ultimately destructive.
We need all the Fremen to believe in the prophecy.
This prophecy is how they enslave us!
Religion isn't treated as aesthetic flavor, but as a force that can unify and annihilate in equal measure.
Muad'Dib, the prophet. Why is that a bad thing? Use it.
And when they make mistakes, their mistakes are amplified by the numbers who follow without question.
Paul's journey isn't about becoming great, it's about realizing the cost of being believed in.
Billions of corpses scattered across the galaxy, all dying because of me.
And that's why I say think for yourself, ask questions.
Which is just so antithetical to the hero narratives we see today, told to believe in a hero with blind confidence, to never question their moral center, their judgment or actions. We're just told to trust that the hero knows best.
Why?
I think the only Marvel property to actually question heroes was Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
The danger with people like him, they become symbols, icons, and then we start to forget about their flaws.
But I digress. Let me put it like this. One narrative endorses heroes, the other questions them.
Because you lose control. Because I gain it.
But this is the beauty of cinema, right? We see waves. The westerns were everywhere, the same way superhero movies are today. But eventually, films come along to critique those narratives. Dune may question the hero narrative today, the same way the French New Wave or Neorealism upset the status quo of gunslinging westerns back in the 60s. This is where the conversation moves beyond Dune and Marvel entirely, into why cinema itself matters.
And for me, the movies are like a machine that generates empathy.
Roger Ebert once said that movies are empathy machines.
If it's a great movie, it lets you understand a little bit more about what it's like to be a different gender, a different race, a different age, a different economic class, a different nationality, different profession, different hopes, aspirations, dreams, and fears.
You start to see how connected we all are.
It helps us to identify with the people who are sharing this journey with us.
They allow us to live lives we would never otherwise experience, not escape reality, but expand it, to feel grief we've never known, to understand perspectives we've never inhabited.
And that to me is the most noble thing that good movies can do, and it's a reason to encourage them and to support them and to go to them.
Ethan Hawke has spoken about art as a necessity, not a luxury.
Well,
About how societies don't fall apart because they lack technology, they fall apart because they lose meaning.
Most people don't spend a lot of time thinking about poetry, right? They have a life to live, and they're not really that concerned with Allen Ginsberg's poems or anybody's poems until their father dies. They go to a funeral, you lose a child, somebody breaks your heart, they don't love you anymore. And all of a sudden, you're desperate for making sense out of this life. And has anybody ever felt this bad?
You did this to me! You Bene Gesserit made me a freak!
And that's when art's not a luxury, it's actually sustenance. We need it.
Art reminds us how to feel, how to sit with complexity without immediately resolving it into content or discourse. Even Superman himself, David Corenswet, has talked about the beauty of cinema.
And when I looked up at that enormous screen,
the quiet power of sitting in a dark room, sharing an emotional experience with strangers, without distraction, without optimization.
I suddenly knew what life was supposed to feel like, what being alive was supposed to mean.
Human creativity is nature manifest in us.
And that is what films like Dune protect.
What I do know is this: every time I leave the picture show, I feel better than I did walking in.
So, Doomsday isn't really another Barbenheimer. That moment worked because both films, in their own way, were singular. This is different. This isn't a cinema bros movie and a chick flick. These are the same audiences competing.
I see possible futures all at once.
For Dune to come out on top, Dune will have to compete with Avengers Doomsday.
Our enemies are all around us, and in so many futures they prevail.
Doomsday does have excitement around it, but Marvel has lost its good faith. I can see people seeing Dune instead.
But I do see a way. There is a narrow way through.
This is a fork in the road. One path leads to cinema as a product, endlessly expandable and referential, coasting off nostalgia, designed to be consumed and then forgotten. The other leads to cinema as art, demanding, revealing, slow, but capable of changing the way that you see the world.
It's vital. It's the way we heal each other.
There's nothing wrong with fun, but when fun becomes the only goal, something essential gets lost. That's why what we choose to see this December matters. Hopefully, we see both. Because when these two films open on the same day, audiences aren't just going to choose between sandworms and superheroes, they're going to choose between what they want movies to do and what they're willing to ask of themselves when the lights go down.
Because it's not up to us whether what we do is any good.
And I think will always be there is a communal experience. And I think that's best in a theater.